Hi, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Craft on Tap, where we talk about growth marketing for RIAs. We are your hosts, Stephen Beach and Faustin Weber from Craft Impact, which is an outsourced CMO and digital marketing firm for RIAs. Today we're going to talk about 5 mistakes advisors make with their marketing and what you should be doing instead. So, this comes from our work with different RIAs across the country. We've onboarded a decent bit of firms. We've done a lot of work in this space. We've talked to a lot of advisors. We've, been to all the shows, seen the panels, et cetera, et cetera. And so, from a marketing lens, we feel like we can share some things that would be helpful for you. Just things to avoid, and then yeah, what to do instead. So hopefully this is helpful. Whether we always say whether you work with us or not. Hopefully this is kind of a helpful exercise for you to listen to, and let's jump right in. So we're going to get into the go beyond the surface level. Number one, this is number one for a reason. Mistake number one: ignoring your clients as part of your marketing efforts. So I'll start this with a quick story. We had one of our first clients in the RIA space. This is back during COVID, I believe, like late COVID. We were trying all these different things because we were new to the space, and we wanted to generate leads for them. And we were doing all different types of marketing, but we were really trying to push, to generate more leads, right? So one of the campaigns was a Facebook ad campaign. We were driving leads from Facebook to a webinar that our client was going to host. I forget what the topics were, but hosting the webinar via Zoom. And over time, what we did, we kind of honed in on the ads. We honed in on the campaign. We drove the spend down. We drove the cost per click down. We drove the cost per lead down. Got it down to, I want to say, Faustin, like $35 a lead, something like that. We had started at $150 a lead. We drove it all the way down to 35. And we were driving all these registrants to their webinar. So we were getting, I don't know, 150, 200 registrants to the webinar. We were all high-fiving, and saying, this is great. We've kind of cracked the code here on financial advisor marketing. This is what we got to do. We got to drive leads off, Facebook in this case, and then go to the webinar. They see our client sharing their expertise. They get to know them a little bit. They follow up with a discovery call, and then, they go through the sales process and then become clients. Perfect. For $35 a lead. Here's the problem. Most of those leads were either bots, like not even real people that Facebook was charging us for, or they were based in Pakistan, Philippines, India, or they were students in debt, just looking for, like, it didn't even make sense why they had filled out the form to sign up for our client's webinar. And so we kind of did that for 6 to 9 months, I want to say, kind of pound our heads against the wall there and trying to crack the code. And eventually, our client, the president of the firm, was on a call with us, and he said, "You guys, maybe instead of marketing to strangers, let's focus on marketing to our clients." And like a light bulb went off for us. It was like, okay, yeah, you're right. So, ever since then, that's been our approach, I would say. Like, we've really tried to embrace that, as a marketing agency for a firm. Like, let's start with your clients because, the more we market to them, the more we communicate with them, the better off we are in terms of generating even more referrals than you were already generating before. We've seen deeper wallet share and more consolidations come through. So, just our advice there is just kind of put the clients first. Like, whenever you start thinking about marketing in general, let's think about your client base first. And then we can craft a marketing plan from there. Faustin, what else would you add to that? You want to share a little bit more details about how we do that?
Yeah, so really well said. It goes back to what we were just talking about in our last episode on marketing metrics, that the AUM growth is our North Star, right? So however we get there, whatever sources that our prospects are coming from, it still contributes to the overall AUM growth. And so really, we just want to make sure that this piece isn't lost, right? Because a lot of firms that we first start working with, they have the email lists for all their clients, but they don't necessarily nurture their lists. They don't always think about different webinars that they can do to enhance their overall client service. They don't think about connecting with their clients on LinkedIn or inviting their clients to subscribe and share new YouTube videos that they're doing. And so we just want to make sure that this is sort of the backbone piece, right? Because you have, in a lot of cases, these evangelists, your current clients, who want to go out and share the good work that you're doing with others. And there's no better way to do that than to provide them that marketing collateral, those short form videos, those long form videos, those articles and insights about, market events, market volatility, like what's happening right now in the Middle East, right? March 5th, 2026, when we're recording this. And so it's just this idea, right? That, like, in a lot of ways, the referrals happen when you first launch the firm. A lot of cases, right? Like, people start hearing about you, and you have clients that are all different types of backgrounds and perspectives that start learning about you, and they end up working with you. And so you rely a lot on that. And as you grow, you want to, scale your growth. So you're thinking about marketing. Don't lose sight of the fact that the way you got here, in a lot of cases, right, the referrals, they compound in a lot of ways, just like the compound interest that we talk so much about in this space. They do compound, and the way that you sort of accelerate that is with really good, high quality marketing, not just to supplement and enhance your client service efforts, but to potentially grow your firm as well. Right, Stephen?
Yeah. Just I was talking with a prospect yesterday. They just had a new client come in who would have come in a lot earlier, I guess, but and is a $7 million prospect for this firm. And he said, "You guys, I didn't even know you guys did all this. Like I probably would have started working with you a couple of years ago. I didn't know you guys this is the type of work you're doing." So the opportunity for them is really just, yeah, communicating, what they're doing, how they're doing it, who they're doing it for, starting with their clients, and just making sure that that messaging and that marketing is nailed down really, really well first. Like I love you said, the core, the backbone. Make sure that is nailed down really well first, because there are probably opportunities that are just sitting out there that are right in front of you, that your own clients have. They may not, have the right prompt from you, or they may not be super clear on what you're looking for in terms of new clients going forward. And you just have to communicate. You just have to tell them. You just have to let them know, hey, we're open for business. We're accepting new clients. They look like this. These are the people we do our best work for. This is all like making the assumption that your clients are happy with you. Like our clients are happy with them, right? Because they do such a great job, and their referral rates are really high, their retention rates are really high. But just communicating that, kind of letting them know. Like it sounds really simple, but we can lose track of it for sure. But we start chasing all these shiny objects, like, okay, let's start building funnels and generating leads off of LinkedIn, Facebook, Google ads, this kind of stuff. It's just your best leads are going to come from your existing clients. That is just proven over and over again. And so we just try to look at like, okay, how can we, market to them most effectively first? I'll say one last thing is when we first start with clients, one of the key things we do is talk to their clients. And we just ask them, like, what kind of content do you like the most? What channels are you on the most? If you were to refer your advisor to somebody, what would you say? Where's the biggest value that they're bringing to you? This kind of stuff. They give us all those ideas. And there's so much goodness there. There's so much to work with there that, in a lot of cases, you could spend 6 months, a year, just nailing that down, just nailing that part of it, and forget about all the other things, that are kind of the shiny objects, other ways to market or just forget about that. Just focus, just put the blinders on and go straight after your own client base. So that's number one.
Yeah, I think
Cool.
that's
Anything to
really
add
just
there?
another quick antidote there, Stephen, is I was just talking with a client, like, as a follow-up interview after we've been working with the firm for about a year, and just asked them a couple of questions, how they're like in the content. They're one of the big evangelists for the firm, and they were saying, "Hey, I've really been enjoying the marketing content. Like, I've, given at least 8 or 9 people, that shared that content with them. Didn't even realize they were taking on new clients. And then when they started putting out all this marketing content, I was like, wow, it was kind of a light bulb moment for me." And so just little
Yeah.
stories like that, like we make assumptions that, okay, obviously we're all open for business, as you say, Stephen, right? But A lot of times the clients are not thinking that. So you make it very clear, like you want to be top of mind for them for all those conversations that they're having with their colleagues and friends and when those different things come up. And it makes it super simple if they can just forward that blog article, forward that newsletter, forward that content, share, tag one of their colleagues from something that you post on LinkedIn. So that's just something that we will always be thinking about.
Yeah,
Okay,
just keep that front and center. Okay, nice. Number 2.
nice.
Go
All
ahead.
right. So number 2, not getting serious about who you are proactively marketing to. This is something that comes up again and again. Shout out to friend of the podcast, Kendra Wright, who had a really awesome interview with Michael Kitces that was just published a couple of weeks ago. Definitely encourage everyone to check that out. But she does a really nice job breaking this down, how to build a messaging strategy, how to think through exactly who you're targeting, who your audience is. I think what we mean by this mistake, like not really getting serious about who you're marketing to, is okay, you have your clients, right? But then you also have your ideal audience who you feel like you have the best capacity and ability to really serve in a unique way. A lot of times this is referred to as like a niche that you can have, right? And if you do have a niche and if you focused on a niche, a lot of times this is, some of our smaller firms that have really like honed into one particular group of people or one persona. It could also be the bigger firms that have multiple personas that they're going after. The niche becomes a little bit easier to think about. Okay, how you're going, who are we talking to? What are their challenges? What are our unique solutions that we have to answer their challenges? What's our content going to be as a result of those unique challenges? Um, but it's more than that. It's more, especially there's nuance, right, for the bigger firms when they don't necessarily want to focus on a particular niche, but they're still trying to figure out exactly how to grow. And this is just thinking through like, okay, are we going to have this particular small group of people that's going to be best for our ideal client? Do we really want to hone in a marketing campaign on their challenges, or do we want to position this partner in the firm to really focus on this group of people, right? Whether it be, tech professionals with RSUs at Amazon, for instance, or it be a larger group like, hey, we're going to focus on small business owners that are between 45 and 55 years old, or we're going to focus on this type of dentist that is experiencing X, Y, or Z challenges. It's really getting serious about where your marketing efforts are going to go after, obviously, the foundation with your clients. And it doesn't have to be a niche. It doesn't have to be, a super, super specific group of people, but it does need to be, you know, more specific than, hey, we just offer wealth management services to affluent people, right? Because that's where you run into a lot of trouble of differentiating in the space, especially with how easy it is to access information and to share information with AI nowadays, right? Or on Google, where you're not even, getting off of Google because it's answering your question. So you really want to be able to stand out for being able to identify with a particular group of people, and you just need to have a plan for that. And when you don't have a plan for that, then it becomes very difficult to figure out how to craft impactful marketing campaigns. Does that make sense, Stephen?
I think that's well said. I'm not sure what else I have to add to that, honestly. Yeah, I think once the foundation's in place around your clients, you can niche, we talk about that a lot. We hear about it a lot. You don't have to. I think we see this a lot with a firm that would be, I guess I do have something to share. We see this a lot with firms that would be, $1 billion in AUM, let's say, and they've grown, over the years. They have a great reputation. They've grown over the years from referrals and from, doing an excellent job with their clients. Don't really have a niche. They're not sure if they should create one or, dig and find one in their existing client base. And then, yeah, what do they do going forward? So I think you said it well. Yeah, focus on the clients first for that type of firm. Dig, you might find some commonalities among your clients. um, that will start to kind of make clear where you should be marketing to. It's a business planning exercise. It's like, which clients are the most profitable? Which ones do we like working with the most? Which ones are we most qualified to work with, and why? And then that should become more clear. Okay, which one of these should we kind of focus on more? Individuals, families, business owners, pre-retirees? Should we hone down even more? Should we go into a specific company? A lot of times for a billion-dollar firm, you might have, specific companies, which we talked about a couple episodes ago about, how to market to a specific company and really like proactively go after that group while still, marketing and serving your core, other groups of folks that I just listed. So I think it's like it's a business planning exercise turned into a marketing strategy exercise. But eventually we want to get down to who are we going to proactively go after, where are we going to proactively, spend money to generate more of these types of clients. Getting a little bit more specific there is really helpful. Like you said,
Yeah.
The AI issue is out there where it's like pre-retiree content, retirement planning content. It's so easy to, Google that, to YouTube that. There's that's already been covered. Like you're not going to stand out from the crowd there. So you have to get more specific so you can kind of find so people can find you, really, is what it is.
Yeah, nice. Just a quick example of what that might look like in practice without like really leaning into a very specific niche is we work with a firm. They have two founding partners. We position one founding partner for their personal brand that's really focused on corporate executives in the city that he's in. There's a lot of Fortune 500 companies, a lot of executives and more employees with equity compensation. And so he's really focused on creating content for them across multiple channels. When we leverage our client newsletters, we really focus on that for him, right? To be something that could be potentially shared with people in that group or that persona. And then the other founding partner is really focused on pre-retiree, 5 years to 10 years out from retirement, right in the wheelhouse of most of the RIAs. But he's focused again on the local area first, and it kind of broadens out. And so in that way, right, we're not like niching down to the point of like selling out with one smaller group of people, but we can be specific enough and strategic enough for the two founding partners to sort of try to leverage two audiences at once across different channels, and then in that way drive not just referrals but also new prospects through digital channels back to try to get more discovery calls. So it's just an example of how you might. That's what we mean. Like if you're not thinking about who you're talking to, then it's harder to figure out how to get to that point where you have that strategy in place, right?
So
Okay,
yeah.
let's go to number 3, Steven. So speaking of strategy, mistake number 3 is, and this happens a lot, and completely understandable, but it's thinking about what to post or what to put on social channels or what articles to publish without having an overarching strategy in place. And marketing is really tough to do consistently, right? So what we see all the time is a lot of people that get really excited about a channel. And sometimes, Stephen, I even do this with my own LinkedIn posting. I get like really motivated and excited for like a month to post, right? 2 months. And I'm not putting it all the time like within the context of a really sophisticated strategy where I know I'm going to try something with outline metrics. And I know that these are the signals I'm looking for in order to show that I'm making an impact. And then after a certain amount of time, I'm going to see what it's generated and be able to measure whether or not I want to move forward. I'm just posting because I'm inspired to post, right? And so what happens to me is what happens to a lot of our advisors is that they get really excited about a particular channel. Maybe they really want to market to executives, or they get really excited about their tax planning and they start posting, right? Which is great in a lot of cases in the sense of like, you don't ever want to like wait too long and think through and analyze too much. Like a lot of times it's great just to put it out there and experiment. But if you don't have a strategy or plan first, it's very easy to lose momentum and get frustrated and upset. And after like 2 months, you've been working and grinding outside of your normal job to do all these posts or do all these videos, and you have nothing to measure. You have nothing to like see what, you have no plan except for trying to come up with a post on a day-to-day basis, and you get frustrated and you stop, and you may have been building momentum, right? But you just have no way to measure or track it because you haven't put it within the context of an overarching strategy. And so would just say that it's really important to think through timelines, what you're measuring, who you're going after, which channels, how do you measure success, are you building an audience or not, and to think through like how fast you need an impact to, like based on setting reasonable expectations about how your firm has done, how many clients do you have in a particular space. Thinking that all through, right, can really help you to feel more successful and feel like you have more direction, right? Which is good for all the owners and the founders that we work with, right? Because that's how they're measuring all these other different departments in their practice. So just doing that, making sure that you have the strategy is really important. And we see it more often than not that people just start posting and they just want to share different things that are happening. What would you add to that, Steven?
Yeah, another I like the example of yourself with LinkedIn because I'm in the same boat. I'll just post on LinkedIn whenever I feel like it, basically, whenever I feel something comes up. I don't really have a strategy there, but I think that's fine for me, for my LinkedIn and for your LinkedIn, just because we're not trying to um, it's just like a playground for us. It's not like what's going to help
Yeah.
build our business, it's just like a little fun side project. For the marketing strategies we're talking about here, it's crucial because yeah, things rely on it, the growth of your firm, how many people you can hire, how many clients you can take on, so on. So you can't take this ad hoc approach like we are on LinkedIn, because like you said, you may be building momentum, you may be having traction, but you will certainly lose it. It'll just fizzle out over time because you're not measuring against anything. So even if you're just setting a timeline in place, like, hey, let's do this for 6 months and we want to hit this metric, like just pick one, and even that would be helpful to measure yourself against. And then there's a milestone or a stopping point at there's a line in the sand where you're like, okay, now we're going to step back and evaluate, rather than just let's start blogging, like let's start getting our advisors to write articles. I mean, that's gonna fizzle out. That's gonna fizzle out 100% of the time for a couple of reasons. One, you start blogging or you start putting out content. Who's it for? Is it gonna resonate with your ideal clients? You may not know. So let's figure that out first. Number two, this is kind of a combining. I'm combining this with mistake number three. Think about what to post without a strategy. Making your advisors become marketers when they don't want to. That's like that's like the example would be, yeah, blogging, for example. Like I know a lot of firms who said, hey, we've got to increase our website traffic. We need to generate more brand awareness. So how are we going to do that? Okay, our advisors are experts in all these different things. Let's have them write articles and get it out there, like post it, and then we can share it on social media. Cool. That is going to fizzle out, because of all the reasons I just said. But also, the advisors, most of them will get frustrated and start to despise that task. So, seen this like time and time again. So, I'd say like what to post without a strategy, and also making your advisors become marketers when they don't want to be. Um, both those are mistakes. So, instead of that, like an advisor sitting there looking at a blank sheet of paper, like, okay, I'm going to write about, wealth management and estate planning. How am I going to do this? How am I going to summarize all the thoughts in my head and all the conversations I've had with prospects to put it down in 500 to 1,000 words where it's like, SEO optimized and it's going to help generate clients. It's like next to impossible for them, for most advisors. So instead, what do you do? What do you do instead? In that case, interview your advisors. I would say that's the approach we take. You sit down, Mr. and Mrs. Advisor, like just tell us about estate planning and wealth management for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Like, how do you approach it? What are some of the things you see? What do your clients come to you with? How do you guys, navigate that? What are some, red flags? What are the best practices? Just talk. Just talk. We got it on recording. And then you got, 15 minutes of a recording. That's enough for multiple blog articles sometimes. If not, a super long form blog article can turn into website content on a page, not just a blog article. If it's on video, if you're lucky enough to do that on video, great. It's now video content, it's social media clips, it's all that. And the advisor had to just sit there and talk for 15 to 20 minutes. They didn't have to stare at the blank piece of paper and get writer's block. So I just want to like lump that one in with thinking about what to post without a strategy. What do I post this week? If you're kind of in that boat where it's like, what should I come up with? Like, yeah, you've got to start over. You've got to build a content strategy, start with your ideal clients, the specific questions they're asking, and then get it out of your advisors, not by making them write, but get it out of them by interviewing them and recording it. Like that would be our best advice there.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and then like stopping, pulling out and going to a different channel because you don't find success. That's all connected to it. Okay, fourth mistake, neglecting the website while going all in on different channels. And we see this a lot, don't we, Stephen? Like, I do think it is possible to build a successful business with a limited website for like one advisor. But when you start adding multiple advisors, when you're scaling, if you're at 500 million, 1 billion, right? Like you can't let the website go to the wayside, right? For too long. Um, all those referrals that you're working on generating with your great marketing content, the first thing that they're going to do, right, is go to the website, check out what's offered on there, check out exactly what will resonate with them. Anyone that sees you on YouTube or on LinkedIn or all these different places, we know that they still use Google to find your brand or your advisor's name and then check you out on the website. So I think thinking through the infrastructure of your site, what's on the homepage, what are all the different ways that you present your services? If you do comprehensive financial planning, how does that integrate with how you would think about retirement planning or tax planning or estate planning, and how that's all presented right in a way that really speaks directly to the people that you're trying to attract. All of that really matters. Your website is a huge foundational element of your overarching approach. And so, this would just be one of the mistakes we see, letting that old school editor on a page, right? Like you letting it sit for a decade and not updating it and not making the profiles of your advisory team really vibrant and not thinking through how you set up your contact page to try to filter out unqualified leads and not offering any really nice, beautiful content and sharing your content that you're posting on all these other video channels, making sure that you build a content library on your site. Like all of that's really important to the overarching marketing approach. And we just see it happen time and time again where the website's neglected. What would you add to that, Steven?
Yeah, I have a lot to add. Number one, I would say that the way that I would frame this up is look at your website as your firm's biggest marketing asset. Because for most firms, like I'm making some assumptions here, but most firms, that is the case. It should be your biggest marketing asset. Um, and I like thinking about it like in terms of, if that's the case, right? And then we're doing all these other things. We're doing email, we're doing a podcast, we're doing LinkedIn, we're running different campaigns. We're really a lot of it is trying to drive people back to your website so they can consume the content library that you mentioned. They can get a feel for who you are, what you're doing, who you're doing it for, why you might be a good fit for them, and so on. But a lot of it, we're trying to drive them to your website, not to get our website traffic numbers up, but to give them the right experience to make sure that they understand that you're the right firm for them. If that's the case, or not to see for them, oh no, they're not the best fit, and that's fine too. You got to eliminate some people, and that's important too. But it's like before you invite people over for the cocktail party, let's make sure the house is renovated and looks nice. Like we don't want to be bringing people over to a dilapidated house. They show up on your front door and it's like, what is this? Like this looks like it was built, by your cousin's son, and it was 15 years ago, and nobody's touched it since. We see this all the time, so I think the impression is really important that it can make. Like, first of all, just the impression, and secondly, the experience that they are given or that they have, when they come to it. So, like by experience, I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, some how easy is it to bounce around to navigate to where they want to go within 2 seconds? Like, it's got to be super simple. And a lot of times we see just the site map, the navigation and the sub pages and the pages that are sitting in your footer. It's kind of just so nobody's thought it through. Like it's just like thrown up there. So you got to think through, where do you want people to go? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to understand? And that's how you get into driving more of those warm referrals, or people that have come from your LinkedIn or come from your email or come from your social. Like that's how you convert more of those people into clients. Um, the other thing that I'll say is just, especially for the for any firm over, let's say 300 million, 400 million, think about the referral process. A lot of times, like you mentioned this, somebody will get a referral to you. They may have gotten other names as well, like other firms. So I know that's what I'll do when I'll refer somebody, say, hey, which advisor should I work with? I know you guys do marketing for a bunch. I'll give them three names, and I'll say, hey, this is this firm, this firm, this firm. Go check them out. Do your own research. And they're gonna pull up your tab, your homepage. They're gonna pull that up in a tab. They're gonna pull up your competitor B in a tab and competitor C in a tab, and they're going to compare. Like, they're going to they're looking for something. They're trying to feel a certain way. They're trying to like they're trying to navigate quickly, like I said. And trust me, if your website is not up to par, if it's not like, elevated to the level that your client service and the rest of your business is, you are losing clients, because you will get people that are referred to you that choose the competitor B or C over there, just because they're going to the website and they're checking them out the same way they're checking you out. And if you're in a battle at that point, you don't even know it. These people are doing this in the background. They're not like telling you, hey, I'm going to research you versus this and this company. They're doing it on their own time. They're doing it on their phone, by the way. So it's got to be good there as well. It's got to be responsive. You got to give them the right experience there. And they're doing it without telling you. So, by the time they get to you, I just think sometimes you could lose people that way without even knowing it, which is
Yeah.
wild. And that's a huge opportunity that marketing should address. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot there. I get really passionate about this. Sorry for the soliloquy there, but I think, like, if your website, the brand, the visual piece of it, and the content doesn't speak to a specific audience, doesn't look and feel a certain way, doesn't match what you're doing with the rest of your business, in terms of client service, the practice management as a whole, in terms of client service, and you're just every other piece of the business, the operation of it. If it's not to that level, we got to put money into it. Like, we have to invest, because it's such a huge marketing asset that should be prioritized. So,
Yeah.
anything to
That's
add to
really well
that,
said.
Austin? That was
We
that was a long one.
we we talk about this all the time. I don't know any of our firms that would deny like someone who had 5 million, right? A $5 million prospect. And I know we always like pull up websites like, if you had $5 million, would you want to work with this firm based on looking at the site?
Yeah,
I
just
mean,
ask
that's like
yourself
it's
that.
like the eye test,
Gut
right? I
check.
mean,
Yeah,
you haven't even talked about any of the content pages or the service pages or the resource library. It's just like, what's that first perception when you get right to that hero section at the top of the page? And if it looks really poor, I mean, there's not a lot that your client service or your investment performance or the experience that your current clients are having can do to offset that initial bad perception. It's just like that 1 star Google review, right? When they look you up. I mean, it's like, it's really hard to overcome
black
that,
eye.
even with an incredible
Yeah,
sales process. So, real quick, Steven, because I just a little bit more about this. Everyone's talking about AI leads, right? On HubSpot, we can see when people submit a contact form, we can see the pages that they've been on, right? And so, guy comes off of Gemini for a firm that we had this week, and he goes to the stock options page right first, which was the launching point off. So we've done a lot of AEO work to make sure that it's very clearly identified with someone who might have stock options in that region. So he goes to that page, then he goes to the home page, then he goes to the who we are section, which has all the bios of the advisors, then goes back to the stock options page, then goes to the contact page and submits a discovery call. So had to be convinced, right? Even though Gemini recommended our firm, we showed up in the search. We did our, we won our marketing win there. He still needed to validate it by looking through all the different pages on the site to make sure it was even worth his time to book a call. And that's what we're talking about here. Like, you got to think about that whole experience, right?
right.
Okay.
Also, tell us what's on the stock options page, like, without sharing too many details. But just, is it how long is it? How much content is there? What's it like?
Yeah, it's a good amount of content, right? It's so we think about it as like almost like its separate page to the home page. So it has a hero section that identifies specifically with the persona who might be visiting that page, right? So we have like a challenge and a solution, a challenge and a solution, a challenge and a solution. We have resources where the company or the firm has written about different stock options, right? So articles on ISOs, articles on NSOs, right? Then we have a video that shows like the firm talking through how they help with stock options. Then we have like a cheat sheet for employees that have stock options that we actually didn't gate that one. We don't have a download, so they can just click into it and see it. So you can spend a good, 5 to 10 minutes on the page, and we put a lot of like depth into it. And so thinking about that, right? We don't necessarily think all the time about our service pages as landing pages, like the first impression that people get. But a lot of times with these new, like the Google AI overviews and also ChatGPT searches, Gemini searches, a lot of times that's the first place that they go, especially when the prospect is asking about a particular type of service for themselves.
So, yeah, because it's more targeted content that way. They can go to
Yeah.
your homepage, of course, and see, okay, you get, see the basics or see kind of the high level, but then a person like that, he or she is clearly looking for something really specific, like their unique situation. And so it drives them right to that page, and it's like, boom, huge page full of content, a bunch of other resources they can check out. Okay, this firm clearly knows what they're doing with stock options, and now I'm pre-sold.
Oh
When
yeah.
you come to the discovery call, you don't have to tell them, "Hey, we're experts in stock options." Like, he or she already knows that, because they just read it all. So they
Yeah.
they have that inherent understanding already. So it should also help in the sales process for that group. So yeah, that's
Yeah, we
awesome.
need we need to talk. I mean, we need to talk through like an entire episode on website infrastructure, how to lay everything out, because pretty much all of our firms do some sort of version of comprehensive financial planning, but there's a lot of value in calling out the individual services, right? Uh, Samantha Russell. A lot of you advisors were probably following Samantha Russell on LinkedIn, but she just had a post on tax planning, how important it is to make sure that you're marketing with tax planning. This is an easy way to do that, is really lay out tax planning as a service page on your website and discuss all the different ways that you help annually and how you help, the prospects, or I'm sorry, your clients avoid surprises at tax time, et cetera, et cetera. So this is all just part of that mistake. Like, don't neglect your website and, chase a social channel or chase YouTube videos without thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. So number 5, Stephen, this is one I just get all hot to trot about all the time. You
Uh-oh.
mentioned it a little bit at the beginning in that first story, but burning money on paid ads without thinking about all the other foundational elements. Just going back to number 4, right? Like, hey, I want to run Google ads and try to get more people to book a call with me, or I want to get webinar Facebook ads, or I want to run LinkedIn ads so I can get more leads. We see this time and time again. I think we're seeing it less, Stephen, than we were at the beginning of when we started working with
That's because we're
advisors.
just
But
running away from, we're just screaming it to everyone who'll listen, like, please don't do this. Stop. We're running away
yeah,
from the scam artists that are out there pitching this all the time. I
yeah.
think
I
that's
mean,
the reason. Yeah.
yeah. We just there's room for paid ads in the industry, right? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. When you get really nitty gritty on a campaign where you have a specific purpose and you're trying to drive leads that way, and you can really speak in a targeted way to people, if there's a catalyst in their life. I've seen some content around the Claude tender offer, for instance, right? Right now,
Mhm.
not Claude, Anthropic's tender offer. I just identify everything as Claude now, so I'm such a big fan.
Basically the
But
same thing. Yeah.
yeah, Anthropic's tender offer, right? Like that would be a good example of you want to get in front of some Anthropic employees on LinkedIn, and you have a very specific way you want to nurture and educate them about the tender offer as a way to drive your value. Great potential use of paid ads, because you know who you're going to get in front of, right? And you can get a low cost per click on whatever you're trying to do. And like, I like that kind of campaign, but that's only if you're all that other content and that infrastructure is in place, and you have a good plan for what happens if they actually sign up for your offer and download it, and you feel really good about your website, and you feel really good about the webinar or the whatever you're sharing with them, right? So that's what we mean by that. Like, if you just have a website or you're just trying to grow and you're like, hey, I'm just going to start some Google ads, or I'm just going to burn some LinkedIn money, don't. Like there would be no faster way that you can spend money, right? It would be more beneficial for you to throw multiple firm parties for your advisors than to
I was gonna
burn
say the
that
only way
money
to
on
spend
marketing.
money faster would just take out your clients for steak dinners and $25 cocktails. That's the only way to burn the money faster. And that would
Yeah.
actually be a pretty good use of money in my opinion. But yeah,
The problem here, though, Stephen, is every now and then we get these like Kitsy's interviews with these firms that, we spent, 1.5 million on ads and we generated 3 million. And it's just, it's confusing to see how that might happen. Right. And there's incredible things that those firms are doing that they're able to generate that. I would question some of the validity about the sources for all those leads. And like in digging into some of the interviews, I start thinking like, I'm not sure that's exactly where all that money's going. Right. Because you're doing all these other marketing efforts here, right? Like on YouTube, you've invested so much money on YouTube. It's very natural for someone who knows the brand on YouTube to search the brand on Google, which would then queue up the ad, which would give
like
the
an
ad
ad.
credit for
Yeah.
driving the lead, right? So it's like everything has nuance. Don't commit thousands and thousands of dollars a month to ads unless you have a very specific campaign and you feel really good about your foundation. I guess that's what we're trying to say,
Yeah.
right, Steve?
Nice. Yeah, I think a lot of people. So if you think about an ad, again, there's the right time and the right place for an ad. We've talked about there's an ad episode in the podcast we did earlier that you guys could listen to. Just talks about the right places for ads. Boosting content that's already doing well and seeing some traction. You can make an argument there. You could put some money behind, boosting a LinkedIn post, to try to generate more awareness around it. You mentioned, yeah, super specific scenarios. But again, I think a lot of times people haven't thought about the next 5, 10, 20 steps that have to happen after somebody. First of all, even when somebody sees the ad, so seeing the ad and then what? How are you going to get them to click it? You got to get the right copy in there. Then when they click it, does it go to an offer that aligns with what they clicked on? Because if not, they're going to drop off at that point. There's got to be zero confusion about what they clicked and what they're now seeing. Now what they're seeing, is it nicely branded? Is it actually good content, or is it something they could just Google? And then what are all the steps that happen after that? The firms that Kitsy's has talked to, and I met a couple of these firms at Futureproof. First of all, they are the exception, not the rule. So like, let's just say that if it was this easy, everyone would be doing it, and we only know a few that are doing it well, that have scaled their practice on it. So like, out of all the RIAs in the nation, I know a few, like 3, that have shared their numbers and shared everything and shown how well they're doing it. Maybe there's more out there that are trying to keep it a secret, but I don't know. I think it's the exception, not the rule. But also, these guys that I've talked with, like, they have so many other things in place. They have sales teams that follow up with all these leads coming off the ads. They have 7 to 10 people sales teams that are calling nonstop. Like, soon as the lead comes in, boom, outbound call, email sequence triggered. There's going to be 6 emails. There's going to be 10 emails spread out over. There's going to be another call on day 3, another call on day 5, another call on day 7. They're going to be retargeted again with more ads. That's a whole different ad campaign. You've got to have your messaging nailed down in your website. You got to have the automation built in there into your website. There's so many other things that you have to build that most firms, like if you're listening to this right now, you're probably in this bucket where you shouldn't start here. There's so many other foundational things that we should be focusing on, prioritizing. You can't just ad spend your way out of a foundational problem of messaging and branding. Like, it's just a really quick way to burn money. And like you said, we've seen it. Somebody does this and spends 20 grand on ads, and it takes 3 months. They got a few leads, they're all terrible quality. Couple of them show up to discovery calls, none of them pan out, and they write it off as like, marketing sucks, I hate
They hate
marketing people.
marketing after
I,
that, right?
I don't blame you. I
They're
hate marketing
forever
people
burned
like
by
that too.
marketing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those aren't my people though. Okay, those are not, those are other
Yeah.
marketing people. So don't lump us in that category. But that happens all the time. Seen these firms that'll guarantee number of leads per month at a certain number per month, or a certain number per lead. $300 lead, $400 a lead. And everyone's thinking, oh, great, I can do the math on that. It's $400 a lead. I'll convert, 60% of them. That's 10 grand a year in revenue. Easy peasy. That makes sense. It just doesn't work like that. Again, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. So there's no silver bullet here. You have to have this, you have to take this holistic omni-channel approach, nail your messaging, nail your branding. Before any of that, put your clients first. Think about your clients first, and then nail your messaging, nail your branding, and then down the line, okay, we can talk about layering ads in. But otherwise, if you start the other way around, it's just a complete money pit. So yes, that's anything to add there on the mistake number 5, burning money on paid ads before the foundation is solid. Anything to add there?
Not well said.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, if you enjoyed the show, hopefully some of that was helpful. We'd love a rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Just takes 2 seconds. Just give us 5 stars. Thank you very much. Thanks in advance. And we'll be back with more content soon. Thank you.